Welcome this morning. So today's CEO training is all about helping you get from where you are to where you want to go. What I find with having coached many CEOs now, a couple of hundred, is that you run into issues when you get to the ones and the threes. So 100,000, 300,000 revenue, 1 million, 3 million revenue, 10 million, 30 million revenue, etc. So what I do is help you get to, past those ones and threes. That's sort of essentially what my coaching practice is all about. And today we're going to focus on six triggers that can help you get past those ones and threes. So tell me, does any of this resonate with you? Yeah, these are real comments from clients of mine when they actually start with me. You know, sales, me. Delivery, me. Strategy, me. Can't take a holiday without the wheels falling off. How many of that resonates with you guys? Yeah, I'm thrilled that my business, we're well and truly past that, to the point that I'm going to offer you a complimentary coaching call as we go through. Crystal, my EA, will offer that to you in the chat. But maybe it's a bit hard to get me in the next couple of weeks. I'm flying to Japan for 2.5 weeks next Saturday with my family, and I know that the business is just going to keep going, which is, what this is all about. So, who am I to tell you that I'm any good at this? Just very quickly, yeah, I've been a CEO 5 times. Largest company was 600 staff. The smallest company is probably where I am now. I'm now at the stage of having run 5 businesses as a CEO and been a board director 6 times. I'm enjoying life. I'm 65 and I work with clients that I like. But I have to say, I've probably made, now I don't even say probably, I would have made every mistake known to man. So, one of the great learning things from my perspective is helping you not make the mistakes that perhaps I've made. One of the things about being a CEO is it's really lonely, really lonely. And you just need to look at the number of people on this call today. I know that we had over 80 register. I'm not, I'm not sure how many we have on the call today, but let's call it, what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 5, 35 at least on the call today. And it says a hell of a lot about how you feel as a CEO and founder. It is lonely. The thing about it is, though, there are hints and triggers and lessons out there from experience that translate to every business across all industries. And we're going to talk about some of those today. So, this is a guy called Scott Tannis. I should actually put a photo of Scott and me up here. Someone I've met a number of times. He had a Canadian company called Western Financial Group. He sold it in 2014 for about 480 million US dollars. He identified when he did some research that typical companies ran across valleys of death. And these are stats from the US. What he found was that only 4% of businesses got over $1 million in revenue. Only 0.4% of businesses get over 10 million in revenue. And in the US, out of 28 million firms, only 17,000 got over 50 million in revenue. They're small numbers when you think about it. What's really interesting, and I've added in here, is the number of FTEs that equates to. The first valley of death is when you hit about 10 FTEs. The second valley of death is about 25 FTEs. The third valley of death, 10 million revenue, is about 100. And these numbers actually run all around the world. The percentages are the same. The dollar figure may be different. Like here in Mexico, you know, everything's cheaper. So we're not talking about a million, we're talking half a million. But notice the 96, 4%, zero point 0.4 and point oh 0.06. Then let's look at Australia. If you actually jump in, these are 2015, 2016 stats from the ATO. The percentages are the same, 96%, 3%, 0.45%. So the lessons for you all is that what's happening out there to you It's happening to all of you. And there are strategies there that I can help you get over those valleys of death. And it's not just a people problem. This is about staff missing deadlines. It's about CEO firefighting, micromanagement, and burnout. A lot of people just don't teach us how to actually lead staff, mentor staff, how to how to delegate, how to get yourself out of the business. So the first shift we're going to talk about today is the CEO mind shift. From firefighter to builder. So I want you to get in your mind that your job isn't to do the work. It's to build the team that does the work. And say that again. Your job is not to to do the work. It's to build the team that can do the work. And sorry, actually, I'm going to go back there for a moment. And the really interesting part of the dynamics happening out there now is that the team is not necessarily just people. It's also AI. And we're going to do I'm going to introduce you to some AI prompts today as we go through to help you actually solve some of these problems. Yeah, these are these are good examples of me playing with AI and just coming up with some images as an example. So, how many of you do not use ChatGPT or something like ChatGPT? Or how many do use it? How many don't? Anybody not using it? I'm using AI, whether it be ChatGPT, whether it be Perplexity, whether it be Notebook LM, whether it be Gemini, I'm probably using 20 times a day in various forms. And the amount of time it is saving me and the way it is making me more productive. So what I'm going to ask you to do, open ChatGPT now, or whichever one you use, and I want you to copy this prompt into ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever. Crystal, can I just make sure that we've got the workbook in the chat? I haven't seen that, please. Okay, so copy this prompt into ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever, and let's run through the prompt and see what happens. I'm going to give you 3 to 4 minutes to have a play with this. This is all about helping you stop firefighting and build the business. Okay. How do we go? Do you want a bit more time? Thumbs up for more time. Thumbs down, you're okay to, Angus, you want a little bit more? Let's give it 1 more minute, Angus, and then we might open it up for a bit of discussion. Okay. How do we find that prompt? What was there any interesting insights that came out that jumped out at you? Anybody want to come off Zoom and off mute and have a chat? I'm going to pick someone. Nathan, hi.
Hi, Jonathan.
Can't hear you.
I thought that was really interesting and insightful.
Nathan, can't hear you. Volume, perhaps. Simon, do you want to jump in while Nathan's sorting that out?
We can actually hear you,
I can't hear
Nathan.
you either.
It's
Hang on
Jonathan,
here.
so I can hear Nathan. And I,
Wait a minute.
How now, Jonathan?
I can hear Nathan and Simon. So
yeah, I think we can all hear everyone. I think it's Jonathan.
Nathan and Simon, I can't hear either of you. I wonder what's going on.
We can chat amongst ourselves.
Yeah.
Angus, do you want to give it a go? Or was it just something at my end?
It's your end, mate.
I wonder what is going on here. Bear with me for a second, guys.
For everyone else's benefit, I found that really useful.
Simon, just say hello for me, could you?
Hello.
Gotcha. Okay. Sorry, I apologize. It was my bad. I had you on my microphone rather than the speaker. Nathan or Simon, one of you jump in. What did you find that?
Look, I found it very useful, insightful. I thought the ChatGPT questions were bang on, and really interesting because what I thought I was doing well, it picked the middle, it picked the actual spot where I might not be, doing as well as I thought. So that was a very interesting exercise.
Simon, what about you? What points did you pick up from the actual questions ChatGPT asked you?
I'm actually a very avid user of ChatGPT.
Yep.
I've done this kind of thing previously, and I've built a whole board, a virtual board. So,
right.
Yeah, it's brilliant from my end. Just so you know, I'm here. I'm just intrigued to see if I'm missing anything.
Good.
So that's reality why I'm here.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Can I expand on the board piece that Simon just made? Simon, correct me if I've got this wrong. But one of the things I do is I get ChatGPT to act to recruit experts in the field to help me. So if I'm doing investment properties, for instance, I might bring in Tony Robbins, Warren Buffett, a couple of property experts, and in ChatGPT I put in there, I want you to act as my expert on property investment. Take from these sources as my board, and bring in the knowledge from those people. The other interesting thing here is with that prompt, if you look at it, ask one question at a time. One of the issues with the large language models is they do hallucinate a bit. and they can get off track. Even ChatGPT 5, the latest iteration. So by asking it to ask you one question at a time, it keeps both you and ChatGPT in this case on track. Angus, what did you think?
Sorry for the delay. I was just rereading the responses. Really useful. I don't normally use ChatGPT in that way to ask me questions and to act or to give it a persona. So that was quite insightful just to do that. And just the action of pausing, having something ask me questions and forcing me to think about it is actually just in itself quite revelatory. So I haven't yet read through the advice that it's given me, but
And I think that the point here is, this is what I'm going to say to you at the end of the session is I want you to take some time out to actually reflect and think on this stuff. One of the problems with CEOs and founders is we are always in that firefighting mode and we don't step back enough. I know that, like, if you look at my diary, except for the next 2 weeks because I'm about to go away, every Friday is blocked out of my diary. Very rarely will anybody have an appointment with me on Friday. I know it frustrates my team a bit, but it actually gives me time to go for a walk. It gives me time to take my wife for lunch. It gives me time to go for lunch by myself and think. Yeah, I know I have my best ideas when I'm in the shower, walking on next to the water or sailing. It gives me time to actually think about on my business. Okay, so let's just jump in. Bear with me. So, there's me who's been sharing the whole time. Bear with me. I've got so many things open here, it's just ridiculous. So you've probably been looking at this. When you look at your calendar, how much of your week is spent reacting versus designing systems? Which part of your business would collapse first if you took 2 weeks off? What's one recurring fire you could eliminate permanently by changing a process, rhythm, or role? Yeah, I know I'm going to be in Japan for 2.5 weeks, but I know all my content, emails, invitations, etc. Crystal, my assistant, it's just going to keep happening, and no one will actually know, apart from my clients, that I'm actually not here. That's the perfect scenario you want to be in. So next time someone comes to you and knocks on your door, or they're on a Zoom or they're on an email, one of your team, instead of jumping in, what are you going to do? Imagine if you solved one big issue every week in your business. How far ahead would you be of your competitors? Imagine if you had a minimum 80% A players on your team. I'll come back to this one later on. A players who are self-motivated, have the right values, have the right productivity, and just do stuff for you, for the business. If you think along those lines, what's the major role of a CEO founder? I reckon it's that bottom one. Minimum of 80% A players on your team. If you have A players all over the place, guess what? Your business is going to outperform your competitors every day of the week. As I said, I'll come back to that one. If you wonder how, one of the things a lot of CEOs have issues with is actually about time management. There's a cracker of a story about a fellow called Carnegie, some of you may have heard of, multi-squillionaire going back in the early 1920s. He owned amongst other things, the second largest steel business in the US, Bethlehem Steel. And he was having problems with his leadership team. So he called someone like me in, a consultant coach, a guy called Ivy Lee. And he said to Ivy Lee, I want you to go and I need to increase the productivity of my business and leadership team. How do I do it? And Ivy Lee said, look, I need half an hour with each of your leaders, and then we'll have a chat about it. So he spent half an hour with each of the leaders, and he said to the leaders, at the end of each day, I want you to write down the 6 most important things you need to complete tomorrow. Tomorrow, when you come in, start on number one and finish it. Then only then do you move to number two. Then at the end of tomorrow, I want you to write the 6 most important things you need to complete the next day. And the next day, start on number one, complete it, and only then move to number two. So they did that. And 4 months later, Carnegie called Ivy Lee in again and said, well, look, we never agreed a remuneration for you. It's been very successful. And in today's dollars, he paid Ivy Lee $22 million. Just think about those numbers, 22 million bucks. Now that was just about time management and prioritization. Yeah, there are lots of ways of doing this. The Eisenhower matrix, there's Warren Buffett's 5-25 rule, list 25 most important things in your life and business that you need to accomplish and then do 5 only. There's time boxing, which is the Ivy Lee piece. Eat the frog, do the most important things first, etc. I've got a whole suite of this stuff to help you and your leadership team focus on getting more done and productively. Happy to talk to you about that another time. So that was shift number one. Shift number two, from confusion to clarity. Build accountability that drives results. One of the big issues that I have with every single client when they start with me is everybody owns everything and no one owns anything. And it's about this. One of the key things here is building accountability into your team. I have a tool here called the FACE, the Function Accountability Chart. This is just a snapshot of it. The key here is, and if you like a copy of this, throw it into the chat, and Crystal will get it to you after the call. The organizational accountability chart. This works for senior leaders, but at every level. The way it works, and I've got a ChatGPT prompt for you in a moment, but essentially, if you look at this, we have the functional role: CEO, COO, marketing, sales, operations, etc., and any specific to your business. The person accountable. And what we're looking to identify here is under the instructions further down, identify the key functions of the company, name the person accountable for each function, identify where you've got more than one person in a seat, where a person is in more than 2 seats, or there are empty seats. No one's responsible. And then finally, the people in those functions, would you enthusiastically rehire them all? That's a really scary question. Would you enthusiastically rehire everybody who's on your leadership team? Then as we work across leading KPIs, lagging KPIs, I'll come back to those. Top 5 priorities for the function. Do you have a scorecard and do you have a 90-day one-page plan complete for each person, each function? If you have this in place, this tool in place for your business, and up to date and review it every 90 days, you'll be ahead of sort of 0.04% of every other business out there. It will give you an unbelievable competitive advantage. Oh, sorry, excuse me. So once again, let's open in ChatGPT. I want you to paste this prompt in. We're only going to do it for one function. So pick the marketing or the sales leader or the operations leader, whichever you want, whichever one you want. Okay, paste this in. I'll give you 4 to 5 minutes. And have a play. Just pick one function. Okay, how are we going? More time? Shauna, how are you going? Okay, I can't hear you. Here we go again. Let me just check. Yeah, Shauna? No, I can't hear you. Can anybody else hear Shauna, or is it just me? No, it's not me this time, Shauna. Sorry. Clint, how about we chuck to you? How did you find this one?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can, Shauna. Great.
I
Okay.
can jump in, Jonathan, if you want
Yeah,
me to jump in.
Clint, why don't you jump in? How did you find that?
Yeah, look, almost an overload of information for me, to be honest. I'm relatively new in the CEO position, but yeah, have come from the founder from the beginnings, and I'm probably in a state of being consistently overwhelmed right now. So yeah, it's a lot of information, but it just seems to provide a
Okay,
lot.
so can I help you with that a bit?
Sure.
What I'm showing you here is one of the hardest things you can do as a CEO. Coming up with the accountability chart, coming up with the KPIs is really tough. Okay. The and if you try and do it all at once in a short period of time, you're really going to screw with your mind and your leadership team's mind. Okay. So the first thing I'd say to you, and I'm going to say this in a moment, take your time. Think about one of the key roles every week as an example. Don't try and do them all in one session. Well, I mean, sorry, having said that, with some of my clients, I have my service, we go away for 2 days every quarter with the leadership team. In that case, I smash the leadership team together for 4 or 5 hours and we put this together to get the first iteration done. But if you're not in a position to do that, and it's really hard to go from a standing start, holy crap, I'm drowning in here, to getting above it. So, like one of the things I'd suggest to you is pick one of the functions that's working really badly and over the next week or two, sort out the KPIs, leading, lagging, etc., and all of that for one function. Yeah, call it marketing or call it sales, whichever one, either you can accelerate quickly or is really in the crap. Okay. But the only way to do, to get this in place, you need to take some time out away from business for a day or two to actually focus on it. Okay. So don't try and do it all at once in one session, distracted by all the stuff running around you in the business. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
One of those great quotes from Steve Jobs was, strategy is working out what to say no to. Working out what to say no to. When he went back into Apple the second time, they had about 30 products. By the end of the first year, they were down to 5. He was vicious about focusing on what's most important. Make sense? Anybody else want to stick their hand up and have a go? Shauna, can we hear you yet? No. Are you there, Tom? Oh, Simon, go.
I was just going to say, I think the clarity around role is good. I have a co-founder. We're split across Australia, New Zealand. And you have your role, and then it's almost like then you're a co-founder as well. My partner does his role. We run a branding agency. He's a creative director. He's amazing creative, but the other role is out there, should be out there spruiking our business, networking, all that stuff, which is very reluctant to do. So it's interesting going through this exercise, because maybe my expectations are, would I rehire him? Well, I'd rehire him as a creative director.
Yep.
Would I hire him to actually go out, and probably my expectations through that process is that he's not the person to be doing that.
Have you heard the term unique ability?
Yes.
Okay. So this is, the actual terminology comes from an ex-coach of mine, Dan Sullivan, from a company called Strategic Coaching.
Yeah, I know Dan Sullivan. I mean, I know of him, and I do know, yep.
So Dan coached me for 3 years, and here's some fabulous concepts. And unique ability was one. And unique ability is all about what are you really good at doing, and what do you love doing.
Mm.
So what we're doing here, I really like doing this, and I think I'm pretty good at it. Throwing the AI prompts in here is something I've only started doing the last 2 weeks on the public workshops, but it's working really well. Now, so that's what I'm really good at. I'm really good at coaching, and I love coaching, mentoring CEOs.
Mm.
Crystal, my assistant, will tell you that when it comes to administration, I'm crap, and I hate it. And therefore, I surround. So my unique ability, coaching, developing tools, and some of which you're seeing in this presentation, presenting, putting workshops together, etc. All the admin stuff is not my unique ability. So I surround myself with people who can do that for me. Now, at the end of this workshop, you're going to get an email from Crystal saying, "Hey, thanks for coming. Here's a link to the recording when it's ready. Hey, do you want to book a 30-minute complimentary strategy call where we can deep dive into something here that you may have a question about?" She's the one that uses the AI to edit the video. I've got the face for radio, as you can see. She does all the follow-up. That's not my unique ability. So part of this is all about working out what your unique abilities are and what aren't, and complementing your unique abilities with other skill sets, whether it be a real person or AI if it comes down. So, yes, would you rehire your co-founder in the sales role? No, you wouldn't. Can you sack your co-founder? Probably difficult. But the realization of what his unique ability or her unique ability is a really interesting and good thing for you to understand when you're putting this accountability chart together. Make sense? Okay. So, so having gone through the exercise with the accountability chart over the next week, where are two people responsible for the same outcome and no one truly owns it? Which seat or seats in your business don't have clear KPIs? Guarantee most of them don't at this stage. And what's one seat you could clarify this week to create immediate alignment? Clint, this is going back to you. One thing this week. Okay. One of the key things, I think I said it earlier, as a CEO, your key role is to, if you can solve one big issue a week with your team, and it's not you doing it personally, it's delegation and bringing the right team together, and there could be people from outside the business as well. If you can solve one big issue a week on average, you're going to be 52 big issues ahead of your average competitor. So that is an unbelievable competitive advantage. And look, just a really quick case study. I've lost him. Phil, a client of mine, I'm calling him a manufacturing CEO, but I was at him for a long time. He had two people for sharing the sales marketing accountability, and it just didn't work. You know, Whenever they came together for the weekly leadership team meeting, I'm going to talk about that in a bit later. They pointing fingers. It was his fault. It was her fault, etc. Once we installed a single owner, the outcome was decisions sped up, lead flow doubled, and revenue consistency returned within 90 days. Yeah, getting this accountability chart and KPIs leading and lagging right will fundamentally change your business. Does everybody understand what I mean by leading and lagging? Does anybody not understand? Would anybody like me to give you a quick description? Yes, quick description. Okay, leading. So think about your BDM, business development manager. A leading KPI for a business development manager is how many quality, detailed calls did a BDM have every week with an identified ICP, ideal client profile? How many real calls, not an email, not a voicemail, a real call did the BDM have with your a target who is a perfect future client, ideal client profile every week? Now, if the target is one per day and they hit that, guess what? The lagging indicator will be revenue or new clients. Do the right one. It's all about getting the leading one right. One of my key KPIs in this business is run a workshop like this every 3 weeks. Because this leads to real conversations with ideal clients and real conversations with ideal clients who are ready to buy. Guess what? My business hums along. Now, I can tell you now, I've already had 4 bookings for a complimentary coaching call from people on this call already so far this call. So that's the leading versus the lagging. Mitch, does that make sense? Great. Okay. So write down, what's one seat that you'll clarify this week? What's one function you're going to clarify this week? Where you're going to put 2 hours away, use ChatGPT to help you to clarify this week. What's one seat? Okay, 2 shifts into number 3. Role scorecards. How do you define what great looks like in your business? So A players, I'll tell you what an A player is in a moment, define it for you. Every role, they thrive on clarity. Every role, this is not a position description. This comes, by the way, from a concept called top grading, which was put together by Brad Smart. Brad Smart was the consultant who worked with Jack Welch in the halcyon days of General Electric when it was, one of probably the top company in the world. Every role needs a mission statement. Every role needs 3 to 5 responsibilities and measurable outcomes. You need to align with your team what success looks like, not just what to do. So the secret to performance is clarity, confidence, and consistency. So, oops, sorry, I've gone one too far. So what's a mission? What does a mission statement look like? A meaningful summary of the key reasons this position exists in the organization. Plain English. What major challenges will a person in this role face in the first year or 2? What is the size and scope of the role's responsibilities in terms of employees and or revenue? How will the organization be impacted if someone in this role achieves as expected, or for that matter, fails? Now, one of the interesting things about ChatGPT, I don't know, do you know that you can dictate into ChatGPT? When you're doing a prompt, at the bottom right, there's a microphone button. One of the great things about, if you used to be like me, I'd be sitting there typing and bloody editing and doing my head in for days trying to get a mission statement for a key role. Turn the microphone on and just talk to ChatGPT. Hey, ChatGPT, I want you to act as my executive coach, my board, Jonathan Herps, and I want to come up with a mission statement for the position of CEO of my business. My business does this. Here are the roles that I should be doing. Here is the growth that we want in the business. And just vomit. Speak for 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 minutes, and then press a button and let it go into ChatGPT, and you'll be amazed what ChatGPT will come back to you with a succinct mission statement. We talking earlier about block you as a CEO and the blockade. This is a great way of accelerating stuff. One of the things I've done with this, I use ChatGPT or one of the models live with my clients now. And when I first did this September last year, I had a leadership team in a conference room I live in Bowral, southwest of Sydney. And the company, they brought the leadership team down to me to one of the hotels, which was really nice. So I didn't have to travel. But I had the CEO sitting there, the founder CEO sitting there, and I said to him, right, Helder, I'm going to ask you a series of questions. And we did it on the microphone, using a speaker in a big microphone in the middle of the table. And I spent 20 minutes asking him this whole series of questions about his vision for the business. I then got his leadership team. I asked them questions. What do they think? Where should, what example, what ideas did they have? Where are we missing? And we did, 45 minutes dictating to ChatGPT in batches. And then I got ChatGPT to come up with a 3-year vision and leaders' intent and KPIs for the business based on the conversation. In the space of an hour, we had more clarity in the business than they'd had ever. And this is a fast growing, scaling business. When I joined them, they were about 4 million revenue. They're at 18 million now, 2.5 years later. They're really scaling. But just that 1 hour session with dictating to ChatGPT was extraordinarily powerful. So once again, how do you accelerate what you can do and make it easy on yourself? Okay, so mission, second part of it. And by the way, if you want a copy of what the full scorecard looks like rather than the excerpts I'm giving you here, throw it into ChatGPT and Chris will take it down. We'll send it to you. What are the key criteria for the person in the role? What are the measurable accountabilities? Now, this comes back to the KPIs again. This, by the way, the example I'm giving you here is for an interview of someone where we have normally 2 to 3 people interviewing over time, and we rate people ABC and with comments. But the key question here: what business results would a person in the position have to deliver to be considered an A player in the first year? Someone who starts, so A player, high on values of the company. I'm going to show you in a moment, and high on productivity in the role. So an A player is top right, which is 9 out of 10 in living the values of the business, 9 out of 10 productivity in the actual role. No one can be an A player generally when they first start because they've got to ramp into the business. Just bear with me. I'm going to, where is it? Oh, I've got it further down. So an A players are more expensive. Okay, A players in a business are more expensive. 10 to 30% more expensive. But they return 10x on results. So, quote, get over the sticker shock. Stack your team with A players. Pay more. They will generate so much more in revenue and profit for you. Look for the best. The other thing about A players is they want to work with other A players. High on productivity, high on values. B players will hire B players and C players. I'll take you through what that means later on. So the more you hire people who are not high on values, high on productivity, the less performance your business is going to have. And finally, a weak team keeps you working in the business. An A player team frees you to grow the business. I talk a lot about building a self-managing team that can get you out of the business. So number one, you can get a life back, but also so that you can grow this business. So going around a little bit here, this is a tool I developed called Your Top Right. What does a company count on you for? And I'm just going to jump to the next slide here, which is the top right. So look at the 4 quadrants. The top right, highest priority. This is that quadrant. Now, this is something for you, but it's also something for every person in the leadership team and everybody in the business for that matter. What's the highest priority, value, and impact and results? Where should you be spending your time? What are the 3 to 5 responsibilities that you must focus on for your role function and where you should be spending 60 to 80% of your time and effort, where you should be focused? Another way of putting this, what are the top 5 reasons a person holding this position gets paid in order most to least important? Now, I would argue that you guys as CEOs, founders, your top right is getting A players on your team. Either recruiting or coaching them to become A players. Because if you've got A players on your team, guess what? Everything looks after itself. So this is a question for every single member of your team. And by the way, if it's not in your top right, you should be either delegating it or building a system to get rid of it, process to get rid of it, delegating it, or just not doing it. So here's another prompt. Let's have a play with this. Copy this into ChatGPT or whatever one you're doing. Act as a CEO coach. Help me build a job scorecard for whichever function you want. Marketing manager under the top grading methodology. This could be for your job, CEO. Ask one question at a time to identify the mission statement for the role, the top 3 to 5 responsibilities, and where the incumbent should spend 60 to 80% of their time and effort, where they must focus. And what are the 3 to 5 measurable KPIs? Take 4 to 5 minutes and just pick one function and fill it in. Let's see where it goes. How'd we go? Helpful? Clint, what do you reckon about this one? Was that helpful in helping you fast track some of this?
Yeah, I don't know if everyone else got to the same point. It pulled everything into a scorecard for me after asking those questions one by one. Yeah, it was beautiful. It's just so much information right
Yeah.
there. Love it.
Super. Well, hopefully we're accelerating your progress quickly here. Of course, the next thing is, hey, marketing manager, let's sit down and this is what I'm coming up with and let's have a conversation about it. What do you reckon? You know, one of the key things here is how all these you can't do them, you know, separately. You've got to bring them all together at some stage because you know if you think about the overlap of sales and marketing example, the overlap of operations versus sales, etc. So, you know, it starts with you brainstorming. Next step is a conversation with the actual person responsible for the function. Next step is, or the multiple people responsible for the function. Next step is you bring the team together and see where the clashes might be. Any other comments, thoughts just now? I'm aware of your time, so I want to keep pushing. Okay. Oops, sorry, excuse me. It's okay. So a quick bit of a reflection for you. Where is the clarity weakest in your business right now? Is it the structure? Is it the roles? Is it the accountability? And guess what? Wherever it is, that's where the first part you're going to. And then what's one seat you're going to clarify this week? Because I know you've only got a day and a half, but you know, this week, next week, what's one seat, one function you're going to clarify? You know the theory about how to eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Okay, so next one. Shift number 4 for you. The weekly leadership sync. Your team's heartbeat. So it's all well and good to have, you know, suddenly we're getting KPIs happening, leading and lagging happening, etc. But unless we get the rhythm happening, the execution won't follow. This one tool I'm about to show you is it's the thing that makes the biggest shift in your business. So the idea here is it's a weekly leadership sync meeting agenda. Once again, if you'd like a copy of this, throw it into the chat and Crystal will send it to you after. The idea, this is a set agenda for your weekly meeting, leadership team, but it can also cascade down. Notice there are 4 columns: celebrate, report, review, and track. Celebrate, report, review, and track. Everything in here is short and sweet, 2 to 3 minutes each. Now, 2 weeks ago, guys, I ran a training like this on the CEO dashboard, a dashboard for you to run your business. This was included in that training. You can find it on my YouTube channel at Scale Up Growth. My YouTube channel at Scale Up Growth. So this, I'm going to do this really quickly because it's actually covered in depth in the training I ran 2 weeks ago. Okay. But notice the first one, celebrate. Individual, 2 to 3 minutes. Team, 2 to 3 minutes. Customer headlines, 2 to 3 minutes. We literally, with your team, round robin, tell us something personal that's happened that you're really happy about. You know, my wife's pregnant. My son, in my case, my son's just lost another rugby match and they haven't won one in 2.5 years, but the team is still happy and they're still sticky. You know, the team, you know, what employee news is there from the week? Good, bad, short, sweet, you know, someone's had a heart attack, someone hit their targets, whatever it might be, 2 to 3 minutes only. Then finally, customer headlines, good and bad, 5 minutes. Report, the scorecard. This is all of your KPIs that the leadership team is tracking. What's the number? Red, yellow, green, and a comment. When you go into the other training, you'll see in there, we talk about your role with the dashboard. Your role is to move things from red to yellow and from yellow to green. That's the role of the CEO. Move things from red to yellow, yellow to green. Red is we're off track and we don't have a plan. Yellow is we're off track, but we have a plan. But moving from red to yellow, yellow to green, that's your job. And then below that, quarterly rocks and OKR review. This is the quarterly sprints you're running. Once again, what is it? Red, yellow, green, who's responsible, and a comment. Now, I'm not going to go any further into this. As I said, we'll give you a copy of this if you want it. The review piece is where the magic happens. This is where you spend an hour with your leadership team solving one issue a week, fixing one thing so that it doesn't come back. So what makes this meeting different? Firstly and foremost, it's about a pre-work. We want your people, and look, companies have all sorts of ways of doing this. You know, automated dashboards, I recommend this should be on a whiteboard in your office or at worst case on an Excel spreadsheet. I have clients running from revenue of $1 million to $90 million. We use an Excel spreadsheet or G Sheet for this. The reason for that is we get the leaders to actually personally fill in red, yellow, green, and a commentary. The number, red, yellow, green, and a commentary. It makes the leaders own the number. I can guarantee you, when your leaders are putting in their red 4 or 5 weeks in a row, and they're declaring that publicly every week, things start getting fixed very quickly, or you find out you've got the wrong people. Okay. In the room, we solve problems. We list the issues. We prioritize 1, 2, 3, and we work on number one, the Ivy Lee thing we talked about. And everybody leaves with clear to-dos, and every to-do has an owner. And finally, at the end of the meeting, we score it. How often do we not want to go to meetings? How often do our team not want to go to meetings? If the thing isn't working, let's score it and find out. The thing here, guys, is you can't scale what you don't review. The weekly leadership team meeting makes leadership predictable, and that predictability gives you freedom as a CEO founder. Okay, as I said, I'm not going to go any deeper into that. I'm very happy to give you a copy of the actual tool. Okay, shift number 5, create a 90-day rhythm. Teachers, coaches, management consultants talk about things like big, hairy, audacious goals. The BHAG. Anybody heard of the BHAG or not heard of the BHAG? Came from Jim Collins, fabulous. His books are, they are the Bible when it comes to scaling businesses. But the BHAG, your 10 to 25 year big, hairy, audacious goal. Where is it you're going? What is your purpose of your business? Fabulous. The only problem is with technology changing so quickly, it is really hard to have a 10 to 25 year big, hairy, audacious goal. We do have one, but I coach 3 years. And within 3 years, we then break it into 12 quarterly sprints. So talk about, and the reason is, just think about 3 years ago, like AI, AI was there, but nothing like it is today. Just think how much has changed your business, or potentially changed your business based on today's workshop. So what we're looking for you to do is every 90 days, come together as a team, pause, reflect, refocus, and reset. Identify the 3 to 5 clear priorities for the business every quarter, and the 3 to 5 clear priorities for every leader every quarter. No more than 3 to 5. If you have more than 3 to 5, guess what? You won't achieve anything. You've got a wish list. You don't have a priority list. So rhythm builds momentum, momentum builds scale. This tool, sorry, I hope you can see that. This is a quarterly sprint planning tool I use. But if you look at it, at the top is your 3 years leaders intent. That's one of the things one of the key one pages that we work on very early on with new CEOs. What is your leader's intent so that your whole team understands where you're going? Then what are the numbers? Actual versus target versus for the quarter. Below that, what's the number one priority that must be accomplished this quarter, and who's responsible? Always who is responsible. and then the key initiatives, and then below that, the other 3 to 4 secondary things you want to achieve this quarter. Simon, this could be finding either a full-time or a contractor person to actually be the sales person in New Zealand, as an example. Okay? Because if your co-founder is not the right person for it, it's not his or her unique ability, well, you need to grow your business or scale your business, you need to find that person. Once again, happy to share this tool with you. So we've gone from the job scorecard, which gives you the KPIs, into the weekly leadership sync meeting, and then the 90-day rhythm. Actually, if I think about it, I probably should reverse those two, because the 90-day rhythm leads into the 12 or 13-week sprint. And then the final shift, and this is absolutely critical. I mentioned to you earlier that a team of B players or C players, you're never going to achieve your goals in your business. But how do you get people from being a B player, high on values in your business, not that high on productivity, to become an A player, high on productivity and high on values in your business? The only way to do it is to coach them. And as I said to you earlier, your role, in my view, as a CEO, founder, is to stack your business with A players. Okay? So how do we do it? This means that your role, your key role to scale your business, moves from being a technocrat, moves from being the hands-on, this is how we do it, moves to being a coach. Okay? One of the key skills that you as a CEO founder need to learn is how to coach. You can't scale a $10 million plus business with B player habits. A players thrive in clarity, accountability, and systems. Your role is all about building great people, and they will build the company. It's not about you building the company personally, hands-on. The only way you're going to get a life in the long term is by having an A player team. I go back to the fact I'm going away for 2.5 weeks next Saturday week. I know my business is going to keep happily chugging on because I've got a team of A players. And I've got my clients, for that matter, are A players as well. So let's just quickly look at this A player versus B player versus C and BC. So quadrant, left-hand side core values, bottom productivity. You want your people to be to be A players in the green quadrant, or when they start B players. You don't want any C players or any BC players. C player is low on values, low on productivity. Guess what? They shouldn't be in your business, and they will be happier elsewhere. A BC player is I would call a toxic C player. These are probably a toxic A player. These are probably that salesperson who's really good, but will screw over everybody in the business to get their results. In the long run, they are hugely toxic and damaging to your business. They should be gone. They shouldn't be in your business. So A player, high core values, high productivity. What do? Promote, empower, replicate. B player, high core values, low productivity, coach, clarify, set 90-day goals. BC toxic C, low core values, high productivity, coach values quickly, or exit them out of the business. And finally, C player, low core values, low productivity, exit gracefully. Now, guys, what happens here in your business is as you grow and scale, a lot of your people aren't capable of growing and scaling with you. So their productivity goes from B down to C. And at some stage, some of those very loyal people are not suited for your business going forward. So these are where the really hard coaching decisions are made about your business. The other thing here on this quadrant, 4 quadrant, notice it's got year 1. As you and your business gets better at what you do, that A quadrant should be shrinking. So it's not 5 and 5, it's probably 7 and 7, if that makes sense. So it's a smaller green box on the right-hand side. And in year 3, it's another smaller, even smaller green box. And you probably shouldn't, or after year 1, you shouldn't have any C or BC players. Okay? Your job is to move it all up to the top right. Now, this may be hard to see, but I'm just giving you an example of this is a tool I developed where we actually track every quarter, every single person in the company. This can be for a 10-person company. It can be for my $90 million revenue client. He's got 420. We track this every single quarter, every single person. And what we're looking at is, sorry, are they A, B, C, BC players? Where were they in over the last 4 quarters? The problem with taking a snapshot every quarter, unless we look at them over the last 4 quarters, we don't know where they're going. Are they going up and down and around? You know, we may have A players who are dropping down to B and C players because their wife's got cancer. Like we need to understand where and as the business grows more and more, yeah, we need to make a conscious effort to actually, track how people are going and build an action plan for them every quarter. Also in this tool, I've got 7 questions to decide whether to develop or replace a B player or C player. 5 of these came from R&D, rip off and duplicate. Very little is new these days, so I will always I borrow the best from wherever, but I'll always hear where it came from. So 5 of these questions comes from Jim Collins from his book Good to Great, and 2 of them I've added on. So as an example, asking about your people. Are you beginning to lose other people, clients, because you're keeping this person on? Yes or no? Think about one person in your business. Do you have a values problem, a skills problem, or a will problem? Do they see what they're doing as a job or a responsibility? Yeah, the job is to do surgery. The responsibility is for the health of the patient. Do they lay blame, or do they take responsibility? Has your confidence in the person gone up or down over the last quarter? If they say I've got it, do you believe them? Do you have a bus problem or a seat problem? Are they in the wrong role, or should they not be in the business at all? If the person quits giving 3 to 6 months notice, would you be relieved or distressed? And finally, does the person create drama? I reckon those 8 questions can almost clarify in your mind exactly where you think people should be in your business and what you need to do. Okay, so coach first, decide second. You need to diagnose the gap. Is it a skill problem? Is it a will problem? Or is it a clarity problem? Set three clear 90-day outcomes that are measurable and observable for each person. Coach weekly. Assess performance. And then at the end of 3 months, after giving them the chance, decide, do we extend, do we promote, or do we exit? Going back, your role as a CEO and founder is to stack your business with A players. That's how you grow. That's how you scale. That's how you build an exitable business if you choose to. That's how you get the multiples for a sale. That's how you get your freedom back. Now, I'm not going to get you to do this now because I know I've got 11 minutes to go. But there's an AI prompt to build a coaching plan, a 90-day coaching plan. Okay. over the next week, I would pick one person, one function, one person that is not performing to where you expect them to, and use this AI prompt to identify, to build a coaching plan. Then build a schedule with that person, weekly schedule to sit down and put the plan together, and then to monitor the plan every week for the next quarter. Yes, Mick. Come, jump on. Hello.
Is that better? Yeah.
Yeah.
So the part I struggle with
Yep.
is, what do you do when someone has conflicting KPIs? I'm thinking particularly of my product manager.
Yep.
The team are building something new. They don't know accurately at the time we decide to do it how long it's going to take to deliver it. So we make an estimate, but they invariably never meet those timelines. And we make other plans around that. So it's frustrating. But they also have KPIs about delivering something that works for the customer. You can have it sooner, but it's not going to work. Or you wait for something that works. How do you manage that trade-off?
What's your business, Mick?
We've got a software business, got a SaaS business, online app, does budgets, cash flow forecasts, management reporting.
I'll give you an example. How many staff have you got?
17.
Okay, I'll give you an example of a client of mine. They're in technology space. They're an AWS implementer. They've grown from 20 staff to 75 in the last 3 years, and they're now one of the top 5 preferred providers for AWS. So they've gone on a good scaling journey. If you think about, so over 3 years, we've had 3 iterations of a leadership team. Because the business started with, a Brazilian migrant, and he hired all his Brazilian migrant mates, and and that's how they started growing, as you do, of course. And they do great barbecues. But what we found was that engineers don't make good leaders generally. To be an engineer versus a leader are two quite, and that's what I think where you're finding the issue with you. And if we go back to an A player, high on values, high on productivity in the role, what we found was they had over promoted people within the business, and we needed to bring in a different level above, and we needed to lift the CEO and COO to a different level. And like most businesses like yours, we go through this boom and bust, get the sales team going, they sell heaps, and suddenly the engineers are over capacity, and etc. So what you're describing to me is a values problem first and foremost, identifying what the values of the business are, and making sure you've got the right people in the right roles for those values, and making sure you've actually got the right values. It's the quality versus the productivity versus the, are we going to deliver something crappy? But, so it all comes down, I think it all comes back to identifying what the values of the business are and your values are, and then coaching the team to fulfill on those values. Happy to have a call with you and talk that through.
Yeah. So what you're saying is we can't have everything.
No, I don't. Well, I don't think you.
Yeah.
Well, it's all about who you've got on the team. As an example, this same client, they brought in a new security team just in the last year. And what they realized was the security team were running a totally separate game plan to the rest of the business. And to fix that, they've taken the COO, who's a long-term employee and are very good at what he does. They've taken the CEO out of the day-to-day and put him into the security team to sort out the whole values delivery, etc. And as part of that, they've realized they need to hire a new practice manager for security. But the COO has been literally parachuted in there to fix that. Now, they've got 70 people. They're at a stage they can do that. But I'll come back to the how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time. But Drop your details into the chat. There's a
Yeah.
book. Excuse me, I'm just reaching behind. The core value equation. Drop your details into Crystal and book a conversation. We'll have a chat about it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sounds good. Thank you.
Look, these are the founder's dilemma. You know, how do you keep people thinking the same way as you are?
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
I hope that helped a bit.
Yeah. Something to think about.
Yeah, scaling is hard. It's really hard, and it's all about choosing the right people. Yes, Nathan.
Could I just ask a really quick question? I've got the same problem as Mick.
Yep.
As well, and it's in the same scale of business. But my question was actually just we've got a leadership team?
Yep.
Do the leaders do the coaching on the individuals, or do we as CEOs do that hands-on?
Sorry, say that again.
Do I delegate the coaching of the team members?
No.
Or do I do that coaching hands-on?
You coach your leaders, and
So
they should coach.
leaders coach the team.
Correct.
Correct.
Because otherwise you're stuck in the business forever.
Yep.
Not on the business. Now, if your leaders can't coach and you can't coach them a coach, you've got a problem.
Yep.
Yeah. Interesting. Going back to that story I was telling you about my client as we've gone through 3 iterations. One of the leaders who is actually the CTO, this is going back 2.5 years ago, first iteration, he dropped down to being a practice lead. And second iteration, he's dropped back down to being an engineer. Because guess what? That's what he loves doing. That's his unique ability. He actually hated the leadership piece and hated the coaching piece. It just wasn't him. And he's happy as Larry being an engineer in the practice he's in and having now a practice lead who's come in from outside the company. And then above him now, a general manager who's come in from outside the company. He's happy because his unique ability is he likes to be hands-on. And one of the things we do as we grow and scale is we promote people into roles they can't cope with and don't want to be in. E.g., Nathan, you had the co-founder who doesn't like sales? Was that you? Sorry, that was Simon. Okay. I promise you an hour and a half. We've got 3 minutes left to go. I'm happy to stick around for questions. As I said, Crystal will share with you after the fact the recording of this, and it will go up on my YouTube channel. If you'd like to talk about any of the tools, if you want a free complimentary coaching call, please book one. The link it will be in the chat. What I want you to do now, though, is schedule some CEO time. Block 90 minutes in your calendar this week or next week and decide the top 3 to 5 priorities for your business in the next 90 days. Execution fails because we actually don't put the time in our diaries. You as leaders and founders need time away just to think and just to plan. So schedule some time right now. You're going to spend half a day away from the business thinking and planning. And the thing is, if you want some help, give us a scream. I'm happy to spend half an hour with you and give you some personal guidance. I have a YouTube channel, Stories of Carl, 130 interviews with CEOs in there. And I don't know how many of these videos are in there now, Crystal. I think we're over 30 training videos, CEO training videos. Jump in, learn from people who've made the mistakes doing the same thing you're doing. But please, happy for you to book a call. Okay, so there you go, 12:29. Now I'm going to stick around for any questions you've got, comments, etc.